Thank you for joining us, everyone who joined live. And for those who are listening or watching on your own time, welcome to the Good AI podcast, brought to you by the DPAA. And in this inaugural episode, we will be talking about how you move from AI hype to AI help. And let's jump right in, starting first with the one and only Barry Fry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Barry Fry, President and CEO of DPAA. We're so happy that you're joining us for this exciting new podcast and video series. At DPAA, our mission is to grow the digital out-of-home industry by leaning into innovation. AI is at a pivotal moment, transforming many aspects of the world we live and work in. For many of us in the digital out-of-home industry, we recognize there's a gap in keeping up with the fast-growing knowledge needed for the successful implementation of AI. Our recent member survey underscored the many challenges that members face in taking full advantage of all AI's benefits. That's why we've created the DPAA AI Initiative. We strive to help our members and partners move from AI hype to AI help. We will close the gaps through information, education, and empowerment. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this first episode.
Thank you, Barry, and welcome everyone to the Good AI podcast presented by the DPAA. I am Jonathan Gudai, founder and CEO of AdOmni, and I'm a proud DPAA board member for over 7 years. It's my pleasure to host you all and share both my experiences as an AI enthusiast and practitioner, and also bring the collective expertise of our community to fold in voices from many different facets of the industry. I've spent the last decade of my career building technology for programmatic digital out-of-home, and in recent times have been really focused on AI-enabled applications that transform the client experience. I'm an AI junkie, and I'm bringing that passion and that innovation to all of you around the world. So in terms of what we're going to cover off today, the agenda has the mission of the Good AI podcast. So what are we trying to achieve? Then we're going to move into the importance of context when you're building your prompts. I'm going to show you how to tune your LLM so you can get better quality outputs with a little bit of custom instructions. And then we're going to do our first use case, which is how do you get better meetings, whether you're talking to clients, you're talking to vendors, partners, really anyone. And then how do you drive better outcomes from those meetings? And then we'll do a quick little recap and a lightning round at the end, and then move on to what is coming up next in episode number 2. So we have a lot jam-packed for you today, and I'm excited to jump right in. We sent out a survey from the DPAA several weeks back, and the idea was to try to get information from how are you using AI so that we can shape the episodes for the Good AI podcast on themes or topics that are important to you. And this is really important because as time goes on, there's going to be a lot of changes with AI, but we always want to make sure that we're covering off on topics that matter to you. So we did the initial survey. That's what today's podcast is partly driven from. And then on an ongoing basis, we're going to keep asking you what's important to you and what we should be focusing on. So in terms of the survey and just looking at what we saw and heard from our members, 83% of you all use AI weekly or more, and about 58% use it daily. But interestingly, about 72% consider themselves either beginner or intermediate. And there's this gap that exists, which we're seeing and hearing all across both our industry and other industries, where usage of AI, confidence in AI, sometimes doesn't necessarily live up to the hype of what it's supposed to be doing for everyone. And so for this particular podcast, we want the community's biggest issues, biggest topics, problems to be addressed. And so the top 3 use cases that we heard from our members were audience and market research, campaign optimization, and creative ideation. Those are the things that people want to use AI to do better, faster, and more productively. And so really what we're doing here today is closing the gap, helping to kind of build that middle section that connects those two sections of that highway, and bring literal help, literal practical applications to the world of the DPA members and just cut out all the fluff, cut out all the hype, and hopefully you all come away with real practical use cases that you can apply immediately. So we know that everyone lives really busy lives and time is very scarce for many of us. So what we're doing is we're crafting this podcast into 3 different formats. The first is for skimmers. So think of that like your TikTok or your LinkedIn short form video, where this entire episode is going to be made available in a 90-second or less skimmable video content. We're also going to be able to give you the content in a 5-minute package. So we call those for the dippers. So you like the skimming, you want to learn more, but you're not necessarily sure you want to go to 30 minutes yet. So there'll be a 5-minute version. And then lastly, there'll be a 30-minute version as well, which is what we're on right now, where we know that everyone can max in their, especially in their daily work life, have 30 minutes to allocate towards education learning. So we wanted to kind of package everything in that time frame. So bottom line, we have something for everyone, and we're going to be dropping these videos twice a month. The other thing about this format is it's not just a podcast or a video series stream. We also want to make this something that's more of like an activation hub. So how do you actually get content or get tips and tricks that you can immediately apply or that you can share with your colleagues? And so that's really what we're doing starting today. It's real world workflows that you can try pretty much immediately. And we've come up with some cool concepts where this is more than just something that we're sharing. We're actually going to give you a bunch of the resources as well. And on the topic of what we're giving, basically think of this podcast, this video series, this initiative as both content, but also a website. And we also built a custom GPT, which is called Good AI Now. And that's really the special part of what we're doing here. It's not just telling you about AI or telling you about good tips and tricks to get the most out of AI. We're going to give you a ChatGPT custom GPT that anyone can use that enables you to actually access the prompts, access the use cases, download files, share files, literally from straight where we're doing a lot of our work, which is within ChatGPT for many of us. All right, so that was the setup. That's kind of how we're approaching this brand new initiative. I'm super, super excited. And let's get into the first episode's content first. All right, so recently, I don't know if you guys follow the information. They've got really great reporting on tech and AI. But this past week, they showed the utilization of AI services, and ChatGPT is used by 89% of the people that follow the information, followed by Gemini at 66% and Claude at 48%. Speaking for myself, I use ChatGPT and Gemini religiously, and we use Claude for some of our coding. But we all know that every company or every person is going to have their personal ChatGPT or chatbot LLM preference. And a lot of the teachings that we're going to have in this episode will be universally applied, but I favor ChatGPT. That's what I use the most. And so does, it sounds like most of us out there. So even if I'm showing you everything in ChatGPT land, you can still apply these to Claude, Gemini, Grok, Copilot, whichever one of these fits your own personal work style. All right, so let's start first with what I think is the most important aspect of successful AI utilization. And there's that whole adage, if content is king, but context is the queen. And in the world of AI, the queen gives life to almost everything that AI produces. Context decides whether your AI outputs are weak and generic, or whether they're strong and personalized and valuable. And I believe that it's weak context that is one of the biggest problems that everyone is facing, where they're saying this is bad AI, the stuff that comes out of ChatGPT or Gemini. And I think the difference between bad AI and good AI is largely a context problem. But before we dive into how do you actually provide good context, I want to touch upon this context versus content paradox. And specifically, the importance of smart brevity in the way that we as humans communicate with each other whether it's with clients or vendors or teammates. We know that context is so important for AI, but we also know that brevity is so important for humans, just in our daily, crazed world that we're in. And so on this topic, I wanted to suggest this book that also is a website and a whole methodology called Smart Brevity. It's by the creators of Axios. And we know that context wins with AI, but brevity wins with humans. And one of the topics that they talk about, and one of the lines that really resonated with me, is that we live in an era of continuous partial attention, where people are moving at a million miles an hour and we're scanning information. We're not really deeply reading as much as we used to. And we spend 17 milliseconds when we go to a website or we are scrolling through social media to judge if we like something. We spend 15 seconds on a website. We spend 26 seconds on an article. And every day we check our phones literally 344 times, which is like 20 times an hour. And so when you factor in just how busy and how fragmented our day is and our attention spans are, the notion of smart brevity becomes super important. And there's just one line from this book that really resonated with me also, which was, blobs of text make the eyes sad. And we all know that when AI is being used, especially for chatbots, oftentimes we're being delivered huge blobs of text. And that's just something that we're not naturally used to working with. And as you can see on this video slide with all these stats, like we don't want to have tons and tons of paragraphs of information to have to parse out. And so I think that's a key element, that even though context is queen, brevity is super important when it comes to content. And so when you think about AI, think about it where verbosity and incredible amounts of detail is the inputs that we need to provide to the AI LLMs and chatbots. But then we also need the AI to provide us back digestible, usable, brief content so we can do something with it. And this is one of the first kind of main paradoxes or main themes that we're going to address here. It's how do you actually get the best of both worlds? And you achieve kind of this yin yang of human plus AI, and establishing that right balance of the right prompting best practices, but also the emphasis on the right context and the right content coming out. And so that's really what we want to start and focus with today, as a foundational part of using any AI LLM or any AI product. It's how to structure that right prompt, that right input first. And we'll talk about how you can then weave in the context. So some of you might have heard of like the anatomy of a prompt, or prompt engineering as a concept. And this is something that's been evolving over time. The LLMs are certainly getting better. But as of right now, a good prompt has 6 layers. At the top, you have the role, then the task, then the context, then reasoning, then output format, and then stop conditions. So 6 layers are going to be what you would want to put into the prompt to get the best possible output from the prompt. And so if we look at each one of these layers individually, the first one, role, like who should the AI be? So this is where you're defining the persona, the expertise, giving the AI some context on what is the specific sort of thought process it should start when it's responding to your prompt. So an example might be you're a sales rep at a media company, or you're a media planner or buyer, or you're a creative specialist. It's why it matters is it sets the tone, the style, the depth of the response you're going to get from the LLM. The second is task. So what do you want the LLM to do for you? And you want to be explicit about the action. You want the AI to perform something that's very, very specific. And it could be writing something for you. It could be analyzing something for you. It could be summarizing a document, generating. There's all of these like verbs of things you want it to do for you. And it really matters that it has to be clear of what you're trying to do. And sometimes what we mean is different than what we say. And that's another really, really important piece of AI, is we're so used to Google and typing in, and it filling instantly what we're trying to search for. With AI, that's not the case. It's not going to autofill. You need to provide it with the specific task and what you want to accomplish. The third is context. So this is, like I said, the biggest, in my opinion, most important ingredients to getting good AI outputs. And that's the relevant details, the audience, examples of things you want, constraints, source material, and the more robust, the better. And so for us in the media business, there's background information on someone or a brand. It could be priorities for something. It could be doing some research and trends. You really want to give it that context so that it can then take that and apply that for its response. And this is really, again, what's missing as the number one component in poor AI outputs. AI slop is largely because human slop didn't give enough of that context, that rich background. And then when it comes to reasoning, so moving on to like layer 4, how should it think? You're guiding the AI's approach to the problem. So step by step, comparing things, challenging assumptions. What this does is it shapes the quality and the logic of the output. Then the 5th layer is output format. So do you want this to be a short document, say 150 words or less? Do you want it to be a robust document that's very comprehensive? Bullet point takeaways. This is what really forces the AI package to be in a format that you're going to work with. And then last, the stop conditions. And that's one that's not as kind of easy to understand just by the name. And that pretty much just tells you the format it should deliver it in. So again, the structure, the style, that's really what that's about, and it prevents it giving you something that's either too long or too short or off track. So those are the 6 layers, and I wanted to show you at this juncture this new AI ChatGPT custom GPT we built that everyone has access to, and it's called. If you go to goodai.info, so the website goodai.info. It's going to take you right here to this ChatGPT custom Good AI and I chatbot. And with every aspect of what we're doing in this podcast, you're going to be able to access the information from it. So I can say, what are the 6 layers of a good prompt, for example? And you're going to not only be able to get the answer for that, but you're also going to be able to download materials from this podcast that you can then apply with everyone else. So it's information, but there's also, for every one of these themes we're talking about, we've created downloadable PDFs where you can come in here, save this, share this with your team, and help everyone in your company or your peers or your friends, family have information to help them be better AI prompters. And so you can even say, and then here at the bottom, it says you can access the guide here, click on this PDF, and then it'll open up a downloadable version of it for everyone to be able to access. So that's an important call out I wanted to make, is that this podcast learning series is not just about information, it's also about accessing and using the content so that you can prompt better. All right, so that's the first big segment. And when it comes to seeing this in like good and bad example format, a lot of us are moving fast, and let's say we're sending out thank you emails for clients or vendors or partners, whatever it is. This is an example of a bad AI prompt. And you can see it kind of skips over almost every layer of good prompt design. So I have here, write a thank you email to Lindsay and ask for a follow-up meeting. Very short, very to the point. But what it's missing, it's the role. So it doesn't know who it's writing as. Are you the sales rep? Are you writing as someone else? The task is clear, but it's too simple and vague. The most critical failure is it doesn't even mention who Lindsay is. So the AI doesn't know what her priorities are, why the meeting mattered. So the output is probably going to be bland and generic with this kind of information. There's no reasoning. So it's not being told how to think. Is it supposed to be persuasive, consultative, casual? And then from a output, there's no output format. Is this one paragraph? Is it 150 words? So what you'll find with a bad prompt like this, it could either be really, really long, or it could be too short. And then the last is like we didn't really specify this stop condition of the tone and the word count. So that's an example of a bad prompt. And then here is a good prompt. So it has the role of act like a professional sales rep at whatever company. And actually, I'm going to paste this so that everyone can see this in ChatGPT, because it might be a bit easier. So check this out. Act like a professional sales rep. Draft a concise thank you email to the recipient. The context is there's a meeting transcript that was shared. There's the details on who you met with. There's the background. There's reasoning. There's output. There's the stop conditions. So you have all of this rich context, all of this rich background that will enable you to have a much, much better result. And with this, you're going to get an output that's persuasive, that's client ready, feels personalized to Lindsay. And just like I showed you where there's like the anatomy of the 6 layers, you can also ask this custom GPT for that prompt. So give me the prompt for thanking a client by email. And so all of the things I'm showing you are available in what we're calling the Good AI prompt library. And so anyone can come in here, and this is actually prompt number 4 from the library, and you could copy this, and then you could paste it into your ChatGPT or whichever LLM you prefer, and then go ahead and just replace all of the kind of placeholder tokens. So we're not just telling you about AI, we're giving you the exact AI prompts that can enable you to have the right 6-layered optimal setup and get the best quality results that come from that. So that's the kind of the first theme. Good AI, bad AI. It's all about layering it properly. The next thing I want to tell you about and show you is the importance of tuning your LLM for smart brevity. So some of us have probably done this a little bit. Maybe some of you haven't. But every LLM, whether you use Claude, Grok, Gemini, or ChatGPT, has this notion of like custom instructions. And some of us have set it up, some have not. But if you haven't and you're using ChatGPT, I want to show you how you can go on the bottom left to this. And if you click on the bottom left, go to personalization, then it'll actually take you right in ChatGPT to this settings section. And over here, the way I've personalized my ChatGPT is to follow the things that are important to me, which number 1 is providing outputs that align with smart brevity principles. I don't want a word wall of responses. I want things to be bulleted. I want things to say why it matters. And I want it to be consumable by people in this kind of fast-paced world we're in. I also want my ChatGPT to feel human. So I want the tone to be friendly. I want it to be, have effective density, high fidelity thinking. I want to maintain transitions, echoes, pauses when I'm speaking with it. I want to take a forward-thinking view while acknowledging the user's rhythm, not just the request. We want to avoid mechanical bluntness, recognize ambiguity. So if I'm not specific enough in my prompts, don't rush to close. All these different tips, tell it like it is. Don't sugarcoat things. Be humble. These are just values that I have personally. But if you tell your ChatGPT that you wanted to adopt those same values, it can make a huge difference on the quality of your overall outputs. But if you are interested in trying out mine, we've also made that available through the Good AI Now chat. So if we go back, let's do a new chat. And we're going to say, provide me with custom instruction recommendation. Then it's going to, that exact thing that I just showed you, it's going to tell you about it. And then here you can copy this into, which is mine, into yours, and then feel free to customize it for your own personal use. But I guess the biggest takeaway with this is you're going to see better outputs. This is a big difference maker compared to the generic stuff that ChatGPT spits out. What makes it robotic and sometimes just not very non-human is the fact that you haven't provided it with custom instructions. All right, so that's kind of the second Good AI pro tip. Now let's shift gears towards the first use case. So every episode, we want to provide very specific reusable use cases. And the first one that I thought would be valuable to everyone in DPAA and everyone who is having meetings with other people is how do you use AI to have better quality meetings? And then how do you have those meetings turn into better quality outcomes? And this is the number one thing that we heard from the research of the survey. So if you look at it as 3 stages, The first stage is preparing smarter for your meeting. So this like pre-meeting, how do you use AI to actually hold better meetings? Then it moves into during the meeting. A lot of people take notes, whether it's on paper or typing. Um, we're going to talk about how you can have AI capture the key information so you can stay present, and then what you can do with the transcripts after the meeting. And then finally, post-meeting. So you now need to share the information with your colleagues or enter information into a CRM, or you follow up with the actual other party that you met with. So we're going to go over how AI will enable you to do all of these things, but with crispness and with professionalism like you've possibly never done before. And let's make this real. So I'm going to give you an example, and Lindsay Sheftick has been generous enough to let us use her name and likeness for this particular example. Shout out to Lindsay. All right, so let's say that you are a salesperson at a media company. And let's say that Lindsay is a prospective client. She works at an agency or she's a brand decision maker on the buy side. So you want to impress her, right? You want to have a great meeting. You want to impress her. And ultimately, you want to hopefully do business with her. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to gather the key variables to prepare that for your ChatGPT or your just custom GPT planning. So what are those variables? How long is your meeting? Who is it with? What is her role and title? What is her company? And in which industry or sector does she operate in? So if you give those 5 variables and plug that in to a prompt template, then you're going to be able to get a whole bunch of valuable insights into what Lindsay actually cares about and how you can actually position your offering or your conversation for something that's going to interest Lindsay. And so this is the actual template, which you can, again, go back to your Good AI now, and you can say, show me the prompt for preparing for a meeting. And everything that I'm showing you here is available for copy pasting out. So here it is. I am preparing for a 30-minute introductory call with Lindsay, who is a media planner for a client. Summarize what a typical media planner's responsibilities are, provide insights, identify the trends in her industry, organize your output into 3 sections, think long and hard. You can literally copy this. And here's an example of what it looks like. So paste, fill it in, and you're going to get a really nice baseline understanding of what Lindsay cares about, which we're calling the pre-meeting research brief. So you'd be able to take that, okay, what's her role? What does she care about? And what are some trends? And that's the first kind of ingredient in your prep for an amazing meeting, is knowing your audience. And then the second step, so moving on to prompt number 2. So now that I know what she cares about and have all that background, we want to tell ChatGPT about the meeting itself, which is really what we just talked about 2 seconds ago. So you put in all that information, boom. And then you're going to get this next piece, which is really your agenda and your talking points for the actual meeting. So the hallmark of a good meeting is where it's conversational, it's bidirectional, it's relevant. And so this helps you build a 3-point agenda and enables you to ask clarifying questions or be prepared to ask clarifying questions, and also to come with a little bit of inside knowledge on what are the potential challenges that the client's facing so that it feels a lot more personalized to the conversation. So all of this is coming out of ChatGPT in your hands, ready for you to use right before the meeting. You can literally have it on your phone as you're talking to them before the meeting. Now switching gears to like the during the meeting, stage 2. This is where we recommend Read AI. That's the tool that we use, highly, highly recommend. There's others like Otter AI. Zoom also has the meeting recording. So if you're doing a virtual meeting, highly recommend using one of these tools to capture the content of what was said in the meeting, because that's going to enable you to plug that in later to do your follow-ups. So they're all pretty affordable. And so what's cool about it is once the meeting has ended, so you are able to go in, click on this meeting transcript, download the entire conversation, and then you have the rich data on everything that was said by both you and the other meeting participants, which is really important context for the next prompts. All right, so we've had the meeting, it's been recorded, we have the transcript. What next? Well, for a lot of people, they want to summarize what were the key things that came out of the meeting. And AI is a really, really powerful tool to summarize them effectively and put it into a smart brevity format. So here we have this prompt template that, again, pre-designed. So you can come in and say and ask, once again, provide the meeting summary prompt. And it's going to give you a copyable prompt that you can just grab, drop into whatever your chat, GPT or other LLM, and then it enables you to then upload your transcript and then pull out all of the key information that looks like this. So what was the meeting overview? 3 bullet points. What were the key discussion points? No more than 5 bullet points. What were the priorities or challenges? What decisions or agreements were made? What are the clear next steps? If every meeting you had those 5 things handed to you, think about how much time you would save and how much better your follow-ups would be. And this is a really, really key piece of what this particular AI workflow is about. It's about saving you time and giving you better quality results to then turn that into hopefully more efficiency or more productivity. And then the last use case is the actual thank you email. So the meeting's over, you've done your recap, use the prompt number 4 to actually craft something that is concise, but also provides all the different elements from your meeting transcript, from Lindsay's background, that would resonate with the other audience member. And there you have it. 4 prompts, all connected together, providing you with clear context and great outputs. And with good AI should come good results. All right, I know we're approaching the 30-minute mark, so just to do the quick lightning round, 3 big takeaways. Here we go. Number 1, rich context, smart brevity outputs. If you use the prompts that I've provided so far, or if you think about the anatomy of the 6 layers of prompts, you're going to get such output. It's not even close, the difference when you follow these. Think about also AI as a teammate and tune your teammates to the way that you think or you want to operate. So go into those custom instructions, add in some of what I provided or your own, and then test out. You'll see how instant the changes are in the way that your LLM is going to respond to give you outputs you can run with. And then use the use case 1 practice. So if we go back to the custom GPT that I showed you guys, the chat GPT or the Good AI Now, all of these. So if you want to say, show me all the Good AI prompts, then you can click on that little kind of fast one, and it's going to give you all 4 of the prompts I showed you in one package here. You also can grab them from the Good AI prompts or use case number 1. So this PDF has all of the prompts in there as well. So share this with your teammates, send them the link to goodai.info and use these. They're ready to go. And lastly, I'd say that, like anything else, you have to not just think about these things, but you have to try them. And the reality is that good AI comes from people who've leveled up their own use of it. And the key is actually applying those in practice, not just in theory. I'm super, super excited to keep building on this. And for the next episode, which every other episode or every second or third, we're going to interview and bring on experts in the AI field. Next up, we're going to tackle AI-generated campaign strategy, brand strategy that can be used by ad agencies, media planners and buyers at brands, media planners and buyers or sellers at big media companies. And we're going to be joined by Justin Wohlstatter, who's the founder and CEO of an AI tool called Waldo, which I highly recommend everyone check out if you can before the next episode. It's waldo.fyi. And the whole idea with Waldo is it helps anyone who's working with brands, think about and understand how their brand is showing up in the market today, how their competitors are showing up. And if you're trying to build creative or you're trying to influence people with media campaigns, then it's providing those insights in a very, very, very specific and high quality way. And Justin is one of the pioneers when it comes to market research, brand research. So I'm super excited to have a 30-minute conversation with him later this month in October for episode number 2. And the last thing before closing out here for Q&A, your feedback is really, really important. This whole podcast, the whole DPAA AI initiative is tailored for you. So if you're watching on the webinar, we're going to send you right after this a little survey to provide some of the feedback and things you want to see in the next episodes. But if you're listening on your own or later, please go to dpaai.com. And on that site, you're going to see a new survey. So dpaai.com. There will be a new survey that shows up that you'll be able to fill out and help us really understand what's really important to you, the burning desires. And we also would love to hear from you if you want to be on the show, if you have an AI application you built, or you have some expertise you want to bring to our industry. I'd love to hear from you. So you can email us at contact@dpaai.com. And overall, thank you for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you at episode 2 of the Good AI podcast. All right, this will conclude episode 1. Thank you all for tuning in to the Good AI podcast, brought to you by the DPAA. Until next time, be well. Take care.